Hello everyone, let's look at a linear equation here. We have 2x minus 7 equals 6x plus 15. So when we are solving linear equations, we will want to get all the x terms to one side and then all the terms without the x on the other side. And so the way that we do it is to start by subtracting the 6x from both sides of the equation so that we can cancel the 6x on this side. So let's do that. Okay, so first we subtract the 6x. And then what do we get here? We are going to get the 6x minus the 6x. They will cancel out. Remember, we will need to have one positive 6 and the other one negative 6 so that they are canceled. If they're both positive or both negative, then they won't be canceled, right? So now they're canceled. And when they're canceled here, then you will only have the 15 on the right-hand side of the equation. So let's just write it down. So it becomes 0 right here. Usually we don't even need to bother putting down the 0. So we'll only put this 15. And what about the left hand side of the equation? The left hand side would be 2x minus 6x, which will give us negative 4x. And then what about this minus 7 here? We didn't do any calculation yet, so we'll just copy it down. We'll just copy down the negative 7. And then what is the next step? The next step is to get the negative 7 to the right-hand side of the equation so that the x term is isolated. And so the way to do it is to do the same operation as what we have right here. But this time, because we have a negative sign in front of the 7, so we want to have the opposite sign for that, which is positive 7. So we are adding 7 to both sides. This time I can put the 7 under the 15 because they are like terms, right? We can actually combine them. And so in this case, we are going to get the negative 7 and the positive 7 that will get canceled. So if you want, you can actually just cross them out. I actually didn't even cross them out at the beginning, but now you can just cross them out. And so now we have what? We only have this term on this side, the negative 4x on the left-hand side of the equation. So I can put it right here. And that's equal to the 15 plus the 7, which is 22. So we get the 22 right here. Okay, so sometimes if you see like big gaps or space, like a large amount of space in the equation, it looks kind of confusing, right? So we can actually move the terms so that move it closer to the equal sign so that it doesn't look confusing. Okay, so now we have negative 4x equals 22. And the question is, how do we continue with this equation here? We cannot really do any addition or subtraction anymore because the operation between the negative 4 and the x is multiplication. Unlike before where we are subtracting the 7 or we are having the 6x, so we can just use the opposite sign and then cancel them. Right now, in order for us to cancel the 4, this is actually another type of canceling. When we want to cancel out this negative 4, we actually need to do division. The division is done by multiplying, or actually if you're multiplying, then you're multiplying by the reciprocal of whatever that's in front of the x. Or you can simply divide by whatever number that you see right here. And so if it's a whole number that you have here, or actually an integer here, then you can just do division. But if you get a fraction in front of the x, it's actually easier if you multiply by its reciprocal to cancel it. Okay, so now since that's an integer, then we can actually just do division. And so let's divide. So see that when I'm dividing, I'm actually drawing the two fraction lines under the whatever numbers that we have right here, right? So what we need to do is to divide both sides by this number attached to the x. See that this time they're of the same numbers. They're not opposite signs anymore because we're doing division, not addition and subtraction. Okay, so now if I put a negative 4 on this side, I also need to put a negative 4 on the other side. So I have the negative 4 on the other side. Okay, so now let's continue with the calculation. Okay, so what's going on here? We can actually cancel out the negative 4 and the negative 4 here, so it becomes a 1. This time, because we're doing division, they're not canceling to become 0. They're canceling to become a 1. So you only have a 1 in front of the x. So the left-hand side of the equation becomes just x. Now, what about the right-hand side? The right-hand side is actually just 22 over negative 4. You can put the minus sign in front of the whole fraction, so it becomes negative, and then 22 over 4. So that's our answer. But sometimes you can actually reduce it if you see that there was a common factor and that will go into both the numerator and the denominator to make your answer more simpler. So it turns out that we can actually divide top and the bottom by 2. So we can do that. If we do that, then we are going to get what? We are going to divide by 2, then you are going to get 11. If you divide the 4 by 2, then you're going to get the 2. So our final answer will just be x equals negative, what is that, 11 over 2. And so that's the value that will satisfy the original equation. The 2x minus 7 equals 6x plus 15. Okay, so that's it for this problem. I will do more complicated problems next time. Thank you for watching.